Hi everyone, following on from our work on scale, we're going to start looking at architectural drawings. So when we talked about scale, we were looking at things like reduction scales and enlargement scales, and the reason that we used scale in graphic communication. What I'd like you to do just now is just take a wee minute by pausing the video and think about your answers to these questions. These are questions you would have had to answer in your knowledge check, so hopefully you'll be familiar with some of the information that we need to answer these questions. So reduction scales were scales like 1 to 2, 1 to 5, 1 to 10, and they allowed us to reduce the size of a drawing so it would fit onto a piece of paper. So taking a large item like a house or a plane and reducing it in size so that we could view it as one single image. Enlargement scales, on the other hand, were scales like 2 to 1, 5 to 1, 10 to 1, and that's where we would take a really small object and scale it up, increase the size of it so we could see it in more detail. So what is a building drawing? Well, some of the main users of scale are architects and builders and joiners, and they would use them in building or construction drawings. And the reason they have to understand scale is that it's used throughout building drawings. There's a few different drawings that make up what we call a project set, and in this lesson we're going to look at location plans, site or block plans as sometimes called, and floor plans. And floor plans is probably one that you might be familiar with already. So a location plan identifies a building and it shows it within its surroundings. And what it will show is all the neighbouring buildings and their plot boundaries. It will show the street names and house numbers. It will show roads and pavements and footpaths and parks and fields. And it will show a north direction arrow. And that's that arrow in the top right corner. It's pointing the direction that north is in. Now you'll notice that in this one, north is not pointing directly up. What they've done is they've organised the drawing so that it's easiest to read, but sometimes that means that the north arrow might be pointing off in a diagonal direction. In this location plan, you can see that the location plan is for plot number 6 of Woodland Road. It's got a thicker boundary around it and they've even hatched in the house. We can see that the thick boundary is the outline of the property. So that's not just the building, but it's the land that accompanies with it. So in this case, it would be a garden. It's been drawn at a scale of 1 to 1250, so that means that every millimetre on the page represents 1250 millimetres in real life. So basically every millimetre represents about 1¼ metres. Location plans would be most commonly used in likes of title deeds if you are buying a house, so you want to see which land and which property is yours. But also, if you're purchasing a house as part of a new build development, you might want to see where your house sits in relation to all the other properties that are being built, because at the time you view it, it probably won't exist. A site plan has a little bit more detail and it's a larger view of the plot. It's drawn at a different scale. So this time it's been drawn at 1 to 200. What it will show is the boundaries of the plot, so the outline of the property and the boundary of the plot that it sits within, so that's the land that it sits within. In some cases it might show the position or the dimensions of the building as well as the dimensions of the plot. It will show you things like access paths, and it might even show you drainage information, so waste pipes and manholes, and that's the long dash, short dash lines that go around the property in the top image. And the little squares refer to little drain access points or manhole covers. In the top image, you'll also see some green wavy lines. They are contour lines, and they indicate the direction and gradient of sloping ground. And that might be something that you've seen in humanities as part of your work in geography. The numbers refer to how many metres above sea level the land is. So in this case, at the front of the property, it's about 130 metres. And at the back of the property, it's 131 metres. So what it's basically telling you is from the front of the property to the back, the land slopes up by about 1 metre in height, which is not a particularly big incline, it's a fairly gentle slope. If the lines were really close together and the numbers increased quite a lot, so maybe it jumped from 130 to 135, that would tell you that it's quite a steep incline and it's quite a steep gradient. The other thing you'll see in the top one is that you've got these little kind of jagged outline circles. They represent trees or existing trees. However, you were going to be adding more trees into the property, you would see a circle with a little plus sign within it. If, however, you were going to have trees in the original drawing that were going to be removed, they would be shown as a dashed circle. The other thing that it includes, as before with the location plan, is it shows the north direction arrow. Now, floor plans are probably one of the most common types of plan, and it's crucial to the project set. It shows the layout of the building, in this case a house. It's like our bird's eye view. It's shown us as if we'd taken the roof off the house and all we could see were the outlines of the rooms and some of the information or some of the objects that sat within that house. Now in this case we have two floor plans showing slightly different information. The top one is a little bit more detailed. Not only does it show the boundary of the building, but it shows that the walls are made of cavity block. So the little diagonal lines show that it's made of block work, so the large kind of grey bricks. The space in between is what we call a cavity. That's for insulation properties. The thinner walls on the inside are just what we would call stud work. So they'd be made of timber and plasterboard. The little arc shapes throughout indicate a door, and the direction of the arc indicates what way the door swings. So the straight line is the door, the arc is the way the door would swing shut or open. The windows are shown as a double line inside a wider double line. And in the kitchen you can see things like the sink top, the cooking hob, you can see in the bathroom, the toilet, you can see the shower tray, you can see the wash hand basin, and what you can also see is a bath in there as well. However, in the bottom plan, the cavity walls are just all shown as solid black lines, as are the internal walls. The doors remain the same symbol. The windows are a little bit more visible in terms of the double line with the internal double line. And rather than showing you all the appliances or the fixtures and fittings, what they're showing you is the dimensions of the rooms. So commonly in a floor plan, you'll see the layout and dimensions of the rooms inside the building. You'll see the position and dimensions of doors and windows. You might see the layout of the kitchen and bathroom fixtures and fittings. And in some cases, you'll see lights, light switches, electrical sockets and electrical cables, and even things like fuse boxes, towel rails, radiators. Of all the projects set, the floor plan tends to be drawn at the biggest scale, commonly 1 to 50, meaning that every millimetre on the page represents 50 millimetres in real life. If you go onto websites like Rightmove, where they advertise homes that are for sale, you'll see lots and lots of examples of floor plans. So your first task is using your phone or your iPad or your computer, use the Quizlet app or Quizlet.com, and you're going to go and find this project set. Now it's from LHS Technologies, so you're searching for S2/3 GC project set. You can follow that link, or you can search it on the app. But if you find the LHS Technologies page on Quizlet, you'll be able to find that project set. You're going to use the match game, and you're going to match the drawn scales to the correct drawn name or drawn type, and then you're going to match the drawn description to the correct plans that are shown, and you're going to try and get the best time. And that's going to help you quickly identify the information that's associated with these plans and the scales that are commonly used for these plans. Your second task will be to complete this worksheet that's been posted on your Google Classroom page. In the top bar, what you're trying to do is identify which type of plan is shown. So which of these is a location plan, which of these is a floor plan, which of these is a site plan. And then in the boxes below, you have to record what key information are you likely to find in these plans. And that's information that you can find from using the Quizlet cards and having watched this video. So the piece of work that you'll turn in is this worksheet completed with all the relevant information, and you'll be able to keep this as a guide as we continue to work through building drawings and scale.